we have the potential to be the most energy abundant country not just in the world, but in the history of the world. If we don't have cheap energy, we're always going to have people living in poverty.
Did you think we're done with Trudeau scandals? I don't think so. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got a report coming from Sam Cooper at the Bureau showing that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals were caught intervening in a CSIS operation, halting it, one that was investigating foreign threats. They halted this. They put our own people at risk and at danger, damaged our reputation. It's disgraceful. It's more what you expect from the Liberals. We also got Pierre doing an interview with his new shadow environment minister, talking about LNG and how we can make Canada rich, how we can be prosperous. Got a bunch of other stories here, crazy stuff out of Paris. Let's jump into this. Got this one from Table Salt. It says breaking food insecurity in Canada rises to highest level ever recorded. U of T, using stats from CanData, has found 25.5% of Canadians are now food insecure. The Liberals' legacy, but people voted for more of this. I don't understand. People who can't afford food should all be voting Conservative. I don't understand the logic. Obviously, some of them voted Liberal. The highest number since monitoring began. This number decreases with age. Boomers are fine. Yes, so the boomers have more money. As we see here, the boomers only 12%, under 18, 32%, and that goes all the way up to 44 years old. 30% of people are either food insecure, marginal, moderate, or severe. Got this one from Global BC. It says, there are so many listings in Metro Vancouver area that there are not enough signposts, says realtor Caitlin Herbst. So many people trying to dump their real estate. Nobody has the money to buy this stuff. The resale market has so many active listings. There's over 5,000 actually, a multi-year high for listings as of April 25th, and drop of sales of 23% versus last year. Who can afford these houses? You got to be a Saudi prince to afford this. Just wait, those $2 million homes will drop to 1.8, then it'll be a steal. And we've got Table Salt posting this, 10,800 condos now for sale in the GTA. It's the same problem. This stuff's way too expensive. Nobody has the money to buy this stuff. I guess foreign investors are going elsewhere because Canada's economy is crap. There are also another 23,000 unsold pre-cons. Nobody wants those condos either. Not these prices. Drop the prices and people will buy them. And this is just sad. We have a housing crisis and nobody can afford all the houses. It's just insane. Thought I'd get a little update here on the situation going on with Israel and Palestine. So as it says here, Trump says Gaza ceasefire deal close. We can't play this video because there's too many destroyed buildings in it, but it says a truce is close as Israel agrees, but Hamas insists permanent ceasefire. So they really want this to end. This may be the week where this finally ends. We'll have to stay tuned on this. So we got some major news coming out of Paris. I can't play any of these videos. I'm just going to have one still frame, which is, you can see there's some hot stuff on the street all the way down the street. So there's a lot of burn going on here. And essentially, I'll just read a couple of these quotes. Here's another one. So people are looting all these high-end stores like Chanel. As posted by Elia Yacobi, it says breaking Middle East migrants are now looting stores in Paris as the city burns. The media tries to distract you with Gaza so you don't pay attention to the, I'm not going to read that, but the takeover. So all these people apparently came on a bunch of boats that showed up all at once and now are burning the city and looting and doing all sorts of crazy stuff like this. Once again, I'm not going to play this, but it says Middle Eastern migrants have completely taken over the streets in Paris. Apparently 5 people are no longer on planet Earth, and it's led to all the burning stuff going on. This footage is absolutely crazy, so I'll retweet this. You can check it out on my X account. I mean, when you're seeing stuff like this, I can't play this, but they're like shooting fireworks at the police, and it's just nuts. Like the city is being invaded. Next up, we got this bombshell news here. Breaking: Trudeau government unlawfully halted CSIS foreign operation, endangering officers and damaging Canada's standing with allies, review finds. This is coming from the Bureau Sam Cooper's website. It says here, explosive intelligence review indicates that senior political actors surrounding Prime Minister Justin Trudeau unlawfully intervened in a high-risk Canadian security intelligence service operation targeting foreign threats abroad in coordination with allied nations. A politicized act that placed Canadian operatives in immediate danger and inflicted lasting damage on our country's international reputation among intelligence partners. Would we expect any less from Captain Schmuck Justin Trudeau? This guy's highly corrupt. According to the redacted report released on Thursday by the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency, the order halted the operation and was a result of political level discussions. It says this chain of command suggested that the halt originated in the Prime Minister's office and Justin Trudeau's Trudeau's office, not from the CSIS director or public safety minister as required under the CSIS Act. So it goes on to say, Ensira found that the decision to halt this active CSIS operation, redacted, was not made by the CSIS director under Section 6 of the CSIS Act, and for which there is no written record of the decision coming from the Minister of Public Safety under the CSIS Act. The review concluded more under the book stuff coming from the Trudeau Liberals. Moreover, redacted to halt this active operation created unnecessary danger for the CSIS team and caused harm to Canada's international reputation. Alan Trederick, a retired CSIS senior operations officer with more than 30 years of experience in foreign and domestic operations, said the case reflects a disturbing pattern of political interference under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's team. Behavior, he said, was unprecedented in previous Canadian administrations. Goes on to list more of their corruptions and scandals like the SNC-Lavalin affair, where Prime Minister Trudeau and his staff were found by the Ethics Commissioner to improperly pressure the Attorney General to halt a corruption prosecution. Also, this one coming from the Globe and Mail, saying Canadian military sources that the Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan allegedly pressured Canadian Special Forces during the fall of Kabul in 2021 to prioritize the rescue of Afghan Sikhs, individuals not considered operational priorities at the time. It says the new review of CSIS compromised foreign operation also revealed a dangerous collapse in control while Canadian officers and a source were evidently in serious danger. The review revealed that CSIS senior officials had difficulty in grappling with, redacted, to halt the operation, so much so, in fact, that the management and control of the operation appeared to cease functioning properly. And it goes on to say here, listen to this, the operation consequences were acute. Ensira wrote, the CSIS team told Ensira that they felt abandoned and they believed that the absence of government decision was a decision. Facing this untenable situation, the CSIS team felt forced to plan alternative actions to help ensure their own safety. Put it to Justin Trudeau and the Liberals to abandon Canadians, to abandon CSIS, our own security team, to abandon Canada. Am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised at all. Captain Schmuck is a loser. So is Mark Carney. With Michael Cooper pushing this story out, a new national security investigation reveals that Trudeau PMO politically interfered with this active CSIS operation. Trudeau officials broke the law and put CSIS personnel in danger. Those responsible for this outrageous abuse must be held accountable. Trudeau should be in jail for how many times he's breached ethics laws, all the corruption, all the scandal, and his awful mismanagement of the country. Next up, we got Pierre Poilievre interviewing his new shadow environment minister. Here it says, meet the man who helped bring the biggest energy project in Canada's history to his Indigenous community. He's now the shadow environment minister, a big part of our conservative government. What you're going to hear is it's a lot easier in Canada to build on First Nation land because there isn't red tape, and all the biggest projects are now being done on First Nation land across Canada. And it's sending a real message that all the bureaucracy, all the red tape is destroying the future of our country.
Can the model that Squamish are doing in their Vancouver Reserve be replicated in other parts of the country?
So this is an interesting issue that's coming up for me because I'm getting more and more people questioning me, how do they create urban reserves? And what's different for me is it's not First Nations that are asking this, it's non-First Nations, because there's less red tape with reserve land than there is with non-reserve land. You
know, it's funny, I was in Montreal, I was speaking to a very big investor, and he said he wanted to build a big project in Calgary.
Yeah.
Too much hassle to deal with City Hall. So he went to Susina.
Yeah.
And Susina approved it.
Yeah.
And now I don't know how many millions, but it's a monster project.
Yeah.
Susina residents getting the benefit. Calgary, where I come from, did not because there's too much red tape at City Hall.
So I had a similar one from Alberta, data centers.
Okay.
They take up tremendous amount of electricity. I understand that. They take up a tremendous amount of space, but they wanted to locate in BC. But they specifically asked to go on reserve. Exactly for that reason.
Fascinating.
Less red tape.
I mean, that's because David Eby is such a loser. He is locking down the entire province, making it impossible to do anything in this province. There's no big energy projects. He is running us into the ground. And we're buying electricity from America now in British Columbia because David Eby won't allow these projects to go forward. There's a couple in the works, but for the most part, if it's LNG, if it's oil and gas, David Eby says no. Even hydro projects take forever to get approved.
But of course, we have an electricity supply problem and an infrastructure problem in BC. So we can't do too much electricity until that's addressed. But still...
Look, natural gas is a big part of the solution. Gas is still extremely cheap in North America, and you can power the data centers with gas-fired electrical generators, $3 for the gas.
Yeah.
And we have that abundance of power that could fire up these data centers. They're real energy consuming beasts, like you say. Somebody was telling me that when you do a ChatGPT inquiry, it takes 9 times as much electricity as when you do a Google search. So just one example of how much energy these data centers burn through in order to do their work. Well, we have an immense amount of energy that could power these things, to the point where I think the Americans, when we get through all this trade insanity, are going to end up having to set up their data centers in Canada. Google, Facebook, Amazon, they're all talking about buying their own nuclear reactors to power their data centers. That's how much energy they need. So a nuclear power station just for them. And we can say, listen, you don't need to spend those billions or take those risks. We have the energy in Canada.
Yeah.
We're a secure place to store your data. We're right next door. Cold climate means that it's not as expensive to cool down the data centers, which generate a tremendous amount of heat for malfunction. So we have that advantage, but we've got to unlock our energy abundance to do it.
And that's what we see Kevin O'Leary starting up a massive data center in Alberta, of all places, right? He's not going to go to other provinces that are not friendly to business, like British Columbia.
So I've been questioned on this as well in terms of using natural gas to turn it into electricity. But I also point out that BC had limitations on phase 2 of LNG Canada.
Right.
They wanted to electrify it.
So for those that are listening, you've got phase 1 is almost done. Several months they'll start shipping gas, but there's a phase 2 which will massively increase it. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and phase 2, BC wanted them to electrify the turbines. Well, they just lifted those conditions and said, you don't have to be net zero by 2030. You have to be net zero ready by 2030, knowing that we have a deficiency in electricity supply and infrastructure in BC. And that's what nobody's talking about. Energy is the foundation not only of our future in terms of economics, but our quality of life.
Right.
This is another net zero agenda brought on by David Eby, which is why Mark Carney gets along with him so well, which is what we see here from the First Nations Natural Gas Alliance. Premier David Eby is certainly supportive of phase 2 expansion of LNG Canada, with electrification phased in, although he says BC's 2030 net zero emission goals should be included. He's mandating this, as we know net zero is an absolute disaster. No wonder David Eby and Mark Carney get along so well.
Just be honest about our electricity demand here. Because this year, everybody's predicting that we're going to have to buy more electricity in the United States.
That's crazy.
Upwards of 20%.
That is crazy. Sending more money to the Americans for something we can produce cheaper at home if we get out of our own way.
Yes.
Yeah, energy is the solution to poverty. You need energy. Massive, cheap, affordable, reliable energy. Energy, it heats, it cools our people, it moves our people and our products. And if we don't have cheap energy, we're always going to have people living in poverty. Well, we have the potential to be the most energy abundant country not just in the world, but in the history of the world. And that's what we need to unlock.
That's just it. We need to have cheap energy. Cheap energy equals a thriving nation. That's why you look at the nations around the world that don't have energy, don't have oil and gas or any other type of energy, and they are struggling.
When you look at the countries like China and India, who want the same standard of living that we do.
Right.
I mean, is there any wonder why they're building so many coal plants?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, they can't get access to Canadian LNG. And by the way, there is a business case for LNG in Canada.
Oh,
there is.
Huge. Trudeau said there was no business case. Like I said earlier, not to repeat myself, but when it's $3 here and it's $12 there,
yeah.
I mean, anytime you can sell something for $12 that you bought for $3 and do that billions of times, you're going to get very, very rich. And it's great for the environment. It breaks their dependence on coal. And the demand is going to be so massive from the Chinese and the Indians. And they're banging down our door. The Europeans want our gas so they can break their dependence on Putin. And we just have to get the gas in a ship and overseas.
Well, in this LNG, LNG, that you're aware of, they just signed an agreement with France.
I saw that.
And that raises different questions for me. Like, is that the Panama Canal? Or is that the Arctic route that might open up?
Interesting. So what do you think it will be? What will be the route?
I kind of think it has to be Panama Canal. Because I don't think it's really truly certain on when and how long the Arctic route will open up. By the way, Russia and China have got eyes on our Arctic route.
That's why we need to take back control of our north.
Yes.
Get our icebreakers. I propose 4 new icebreakers, big ones. Plus, we obviously need to go ahead with fighter jets, Poseidons, a new Arctic base in Iqaluit, and other military infrastructure to do our part and protect the North against the Russians and Chinese, who, for obvious reasons, are going to want those shipping lanes and those minerals. We have so much potential in this country. You know, we have the single biggest oceanic coastline.
A little update on China. There's a lot of words being tossed around about not interfering with their interactions, what they may be doing here soon with Taiwan, as in taking over. They're telling America to stay away. So we don't know if there's an invasion coming soon. We have an article coming from the Bureau on this as well. It says Beijing imminent threat to Taiwan. U.S. Defense Security issues stark warning. China invasion of Taiwan could be imminent. We'll see what happens with this. It comes down to it. We have a lot of energy. We should be going full steam on all the energy, LNG, hydro, whatever, nuclear, and exporting it around the world and making Canada rich. Get rid of income tax, get rid of all the taxes. We would be so rich if we went double, triple, quadruple down on this. We would make so much money from it. But our government is run by buffoons, absolute losers who are climate virtue signaling when exporting LNG would be better for the environment, the global environment. If we exported that to India or China or any other country like Europe who wants to get off of gas from Russia, we have cleaner LNG displacing coal. It's all a big win. Why won't the Liberals do this? This is the question. As I pointed out earlier, all the connections between Mark Carney, Donald Trump, Qatar exporting so much LNG. They don't want this extra competition. Very suspicious things going on in our country. Got this one from the Toronto Star. It says, hunt for new NDP leader raises tension before race even begins. High-profile candidates have signaled a lack of interest, and the process of even deciding on how to orchestrate a leadership contest is already mirrored in conflict. We've got Matthew Green here, who lost his riding in Hamilton Centre. He says the NDP process can't be dominated by the internal party movers and shakers, the consulting class. It's interesting, he was just at a Palestinian protest, rallying and cheering and battle crying and swearing. Even though he lost his job, he's embracing his new calling with his spare time. I can't play the video, I'll give you a couple second teaser here.
If we don't get it, if we don't get it,
So this is Matthew Green here, and he just gets more and more riled up, starts swearing. Yeah, not a good look. Got this one from Blacklock's reporter. It says, bill to lower voting age to 16 is back. Through Elections Canada, research shows a majority of Canadians oppose it, 72% disagree. Canadians are 16 years old, they haven't gone through enough life yet. They don't know what's going on. This is not their priority. They don't care about politics. They should care about politics, but 16 is too young in my opinion. Not old enough to sign for a mortgage, not old enough to get a tattoo, not old enough to vote. Yeah, exactly. This is the demographic that had to be told not to eat Tide Pods. Some people saying it should be raised to 25. Liberals plan to replace those 72% until all foreign-born voters vote Liberal. Here's a chart of permanent residents in blue and non-permanent residents in green here. And on the left, it's a little cut off. You can see here per thousand, so 800,000, million, 1.2 million, 1.4 million. Got this one from Shazzy Gully. It says the world event cottage buyers are losing up to $365,000 per property. They thought they were buying dreams in cottage country. Now they're unloading them in silence, bleeding six figures in losses. So Kawartha Lakes bungalow bought for $1.1 million in 2022, resold for $736,000 in 2025. $86,000 Kawartha Lakes cottage sold below asking. Muskoka median resale loss 2022 to 23. Buyers $240,000. Got this one here. Cottage bought for $760, relisted at $699. Properties face $50 to $100K price drops before selling. Market was overinflated. Justin Trudeau encouraged people. Canadians took his advice. The worst thing anyone could ever do.